Well, the thing I remember the most about this game is when you land on the planet and heavy rain is pouring down. And right off the bat, the atmosphere of the game pulls you in like a tractor beam, and automatically you're transported into Super Metroid. Ah, memories. Another part of this game that I seem to recall the most is the boss fight against Kraid. Unlike the last time, you fight a massive Kraid, and I remember having my jaw drop seeing how big this boss really was. It was like, crap, how am I ever going to beat this turkey? Yeah, my slang was corny. Give me a break, I was 11. But anyway, that boss fight wasn't even hard, but just the sheer epicness of how big the guy was, it really brought you into the game. The other memory I have has to do with Samus's super run. I just remember how cool she looked running through stuff and could only imagine how fast she was really traveling. I especially remember how she would destroy anything in her path while running this fast. After hitting down on the gamepad too, you would make her flash and jump really, really high. So it was like Samus became Supergirl. I always thought that was kind of cool. In spring of 1994, Super Metroid released in Japan for the Super Famicom. The game was developed by R&D 1, which was a staff of just 15 people. The game released 8 years after the original Famicom title, and it took exactly half a year in order to gain approval to make another Metroid title. The game itself took just 18 months to create, which back then was a long time. When asked why the game took so long to make, Sakamoto responded with this. We wanted to wait until a true action game was needed, and also set the stage for the return of Samus. Most of the locations from the first Metroid game were reused and modified to a degree to appear in Super Metroid. The developers did this because they were unhappy with the original levels from the first Famicom game, and they wanted to correct or tweak this. However, adding previous locations to Super Metroid created a sense of familiarity for players, and Sakamoto stated that the revamped sections gave a much greater sense of drama as a whole and reintroduced previous Metroid players to Super Metroid. The developers' primary goal was not just to make a game, but a good action game. Their main goal was to create a much bigger map, however they found this very difficult to do considering that they didn't have enough data or the technology to do so. So instead they came up with the idea to break the game into many different layers and locations. But at the same time they wanted to keep that fluid open-ended feel and trick the gamers. The end result was more than they could have bargained for. Not only had they succeeded in creating a huge world for gamers to explore, but they also managed to create brand new locations to the series and gave the impression that it's just one massive underworld. That's awesome! The new weapons introduced to the series was a grappling beam, which was used to latch a laser onto the ceiling so that Samus could swing across obstacles. It was also the first game in the series to allow Samus to shoot in all directions while moving forward, or running. It is also among the first open-ended games to offer a map room. This feature showed the outlines of the rooms, highlighted the destinations where you needed to go, and dotted off special locations where items are located. After Super Metroid release, Sakamoto mentioned that there would be a new Metroid game for Nintendo's next generation system, and they called it Project Reality, although we know that this never came to be. Sadly, the sales were very poor and Nintendo abandoned Metroid and stuck it in the Nintendo Vault next to Star Tropic. However, 8 years later, Samus would make a triumphant return thanks to Retro Studios' Metroid Prime. But that's another story for another day. Well, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different this time around. In the last Metroid review, I did tips for the bosses, but I won't be doing any of that this time. Instead, think of this more as a mini guide for getting the most useful abilities early on in the game. First on my agenda is to upgrade your arm cannon to the Spazer. Make sure you already have obtained both the Morph Ball and the bombs, otherwise you won't be able to obtain this upgrade. Okay, once you're at this screen, use the missiles on the pink door to open it. Make your way inside and grab the energy tank that you see. Next, morph into the ball and head over to the left side of the screen. Drop down the narrow passageway and go through the first blue door you come across. You can kill enemies if you want, but we need to go through the blue door. Beyond this wall lies a very important item. You can waste missiles on this wall if you want to, but it's best just to shoot it with Samus's arm cannon. With the high jump boots in hand, players can now jump much higher, no pun intended. This is a key early on item because now you can explore different routes and you aren't as restricted as you were before. After you beat Kraid, you get Samus's first power suit upgrade, which helps you stand high temperatures much better. Now the last upgrade that I'm going to help you guys with is the freeze beam. This is my favorite upgrade from every Metroid game since. The easiest way to get this upgrade is by going toward the highest door and then turning into the morph ball and maneuvering into the small hole. That is where the freeze beam is. And it's simple as that. If you guys need any more help with Super Metroid, then please hop over to the K-Wing Forum site and go to Gaming 101, and we will do our best to help you out. Alrighty, it's ranting time, folks. I know you all look forward to this, so let's get it started. Number 1 on my hate list is the wall jumping. I really hate it. But I didn't really start to hate it until I got to this one location where these little alien dudes are trying to show you how to jump up the wall. So you try to mimic them, and what happens? Yeah, you end up falling. Now, of course, if you have the super run, then you can just run forward and shoot all the way up. But if you don't have the super run, then you're going to have to wall jump all the way up there. Which works in theory. Although what's funny is later in the series, you don't even need to use the wall jump anymore. But I just didn't like the wall jump. And later on in the games, the developers actually fixed the wall jump. So I guess my complaint isn't relative. Anyway, I still don't like fighting those Metroid thingies. I know I said that in my last Metroid review, but I still don't like these things. You have to freeze them, then you have to hit them with your missiles, and if they latch onto you, then they're a pain in the neck to get off, because no matter how many bombs you drop, sometimes they're going to take 1, 2, or even 3 of your energy tanks with them. Hate those guys. But I hated fighting these 2 space pirates more. In order to beat these morons, you must wait until they flash yellow and karate kick you in the air. And then, only then, can you destroy them. But even that doesn't always work. It's a long, tedious fight with these 2 characters that shouldn't be as powerful as they are. But oh well. Lastly, I may get a lot of heat of this considering that the originator of the moonwalk has passed on. But I'm going to say it anyway. I hated Samus's moonwalk. Now, I know some people who love this and can even make Samus move backwards faster as a glitch. But I, for one, just hate it. It looks cool and all, but you're better off not even using it in the game, because the enemies, while you're moonwalking, they're not going to be like, oh wow, you're moonwalking, that's cool. You're moving in slow motion, so they'll just come up behind you and they'll either shoot you, or they'll punch you, or they'll kick you, or they'll zap the life out of you. I mean, why in the world was this even included? Just so, they could say, oh, we have the moonwalk in Super Metroid. The moonwalk equals epic failure in Super Metroid. I'm serious. I don't see any point to this whatsoever. I really don't. It's just a stupid idea. Rest assured, gamers, Super Metroid is my favorite Metroid game, and replaying it reconfirmed any older doubts I had crawling around in the deep darkness of my mind. Which is a very scary place to be. You don't want to be there. Although, I still think Zero Mission is a pretty epic game too, even though it's a remake of the original Famicom game with fancier graphics and a storyline. But I digress. Let's see. My major complaint with the first Metroid game, other than the jumping and some other things, was the map. There was no map. Well, guess what? I can't complain anymore because there are lots of maps. Heck, there's even a map room. Or should I say rooms. And you will need to use these because Zeb's is bigger than ever. And with all the backtracking you have to do, if you don't know where you're supposed to go on your map, then you're going to get aimlessly lost, and then you're going to get aggravated, and it's going to be totally your fault because you didn't download the map in the map room. So there. Super Metroid has a boatload of secrets and alternate routes, which makes this game the game of choice for every speedrunner on the net. The music really fit this game perfectly and reflected both ambient music and when the music needed to get more rocky or tense, it became so. I never got tired of listening to it, and it added so much depth to this game.